Welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and we've hit the end of the year, so Jill and I thought it would be fun to tell you about some of our favorite reads this year. So Jill, what's your first pick?
So I had an interesting, I don't know if this is a genre, but I read a lot of books, and I had a lot of them on my best lists of houses in the woods with interesting things happening in them. And this is one of them, Wayward by Amelia Hart. This actually was the winner of the reader's favorite historical fiction for 2023 and the favorite debut novel for 2023. So other people like this too. It's very, very witchy and very fun. It has this little cabin in the woods, the Wayward Cottage, and it's fun. I am a wayward and wild inside. 2019, under the cover of darkness, Kate flees for London and for a ramshackle Wayward Cottage, inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. With its tumbling ivy and overgrown garden, the cottage is worlds away from the abusive partner who tormented Kate. But she begins to suspect that her great aunt had a secret, one that lurks in the bones of the cottage, hidden ever since the witch hunts of the 17th century. 1619, Altha is waiting trial for the murder of a local farmer who was stampeded to death by his herd. As a girl, Altha's mother taught her the magic, a kind not rooted in spellcasting but in deep knowledge of the natural world. But unusual women have always been deemed dangerous, and as the evidence for witchcraft is set out against Altha, she knows it will take all of her powers to maintain her freedom. 1942. As World War II rages, Violet is trapped in her family's grand crumbling estate. Straitjacketed by societal convention, she longs for the robust education her brother receives, and for her mother, long deceased, who is rumored to have gone mad before her death. The only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W and the word Wayward scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. Weaving together the stories of these three extraordinary women across 5 centuries, Amelia Hart's Wayward is an enthralling novel of female resilience and the transformative power of the natural world. So, witches in a cottage in the woods and all kinds of stuff.
My first pick is After Annie by Anna Quindlen, and this was just published this year. It was published in February of this year. When Annie Brown dies suddenly, her husband, her 4 young kids, and her closest friend are left to struggle without the woman who centered their lives. Bill Brown finds himself overwhelmed, and Annie's best friend, Anne-Marie, is lost to old bad habits without Annie's support. It's Annie's daughter, Allie, forced to try to care for her younger brothers and even her father, who manages to maintain some semblance of their former lives for them all, and who confronts the complicated truths of adulthood. Yet, over the course of the next year, while Annie looms large in their memories, all 3 are able to grow, to change, even to become stronger and more sure of themselves. The enduring power Annie gave to those who loved her is the power to love and to go on without her. It's a story that ends with hope. I thought it was a beautifully written novel about how adversity changes us in profound ways. I gave this 5 stars on Goodreads. So After Annie by Anna Quindlen.
Anna Quindlen. I don't read enough by her. So this is another house in the woods. Northwoods by Daniel Mason, which is kind of hard to find. You kind of have to look for this guy on the cover because it's kind of funny to find in the catalog. A sweeping novel about a single house in the woods of New England, told through the lives of those who inhabit it across the centuries. A daring, moving tale of memory and fate from the Pulitzer Prize finalist and author of The Piano Tuner and The Winter Soldier. When a pair of young lovers have son from Puritan colony, little do they know what their humble cabin in the woods will become home to an extraordinary succession of inhabitants. An English soldier destined for glory abandons the battlefields of the New World to devote himself to apples. A pair of spinster twins survive war and famine, only to succumb to envy and desire. A crime reporter unearths a mass grave, but finds the ancient trees refuse to give up their secrets. A lovelorn painter, a con man, a stalking panther, a lusty beetle. As each one confronts the mysteries of the Northwoods, they come to realize the dark, raucous, beautiful past is very much alive. Traversing cycles of history, nature, and even literature, Northwoods shows the myriad magical ways in which they're connected to our environment and to one another across time, language, and space. Written along with the seasons and divided into 12 months of the year, it is an unforgettable novel about secrets and fates that ask timeless, how do we live on even after we're gone? So, The Northwoods, it's not an easy read, but this was very good. I gave this 5 stars, I'm pretty sure.
I have that one on my to-be-read list. My second pick is a book that that was published in 2014, All the Light We Cannot See, and I read this as part of the Pulitzer Reading Challenge that Tracy, our Adult Services librarian, held this year, and this was my favorite out of the 9 Pulitzers that I read. And I hadn't read anything by Anthony Doerr before this, so this was my first foray into him. He writes beautifully. So Marie-Laure lives in Paris near the Museum of Natural History where her father works. When she is 12, the Nazis occupy Paris, and father and daughter have to flee to their reclusive uncle's place who lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In a mining town in Germany, Werner Pfennig, an orphan, grows up with his younger sister, enchanted by a crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places they have never seen or imagined. Werner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial new instruments and is enlisted to use his talents to track down the resistance. This book deftly interweaves the stories of both Marie-Laure and Werner, and the author illuminates the ways against all odds people try to be good to one another. It was a beautiful story written about this blind French girl and a German boy whose paths collide in occupied France as both try to survive the devastation of World War II. So one of my favorite historical fiction books.
I'm glad one of those Pulitzers made your best of 2024.
I really liked that book.
So this one is not a Pulitzer winner. This had me so stressed out though. Like if you like a thriller kind of thing, it's not really a thriller because there's like he's in a whale. He gets swallowed by a whale basically, and he's trying to get out for the whole book, and it's like great.
Oh my goodness.
Whale Fall by Daniel Kraus. Jay Gardner has set out on a fool's errand, find the remains of his deceased father in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Monastery Beach. He knows it's a long shot, but he feels it's the only way to relieve the guilt he has carried since his dad's suicide the previous year. The dive begins well enough, but the sudden appearance of the giant squid puts Jay in jeopardy, made infinitely worse by the arrival of a sperm whale looking to feed. Suddenly, Jay is caught in the squid's tentacles, then pulled into the whale's mouth and into the first of its 4 stomachs. He quickly realizes he only has 1 hour before his oxygen tank runs out. 1 hour to feed his demons and escape the belly of a whale. So almost the entire book, he's in the belly of a whale. You know more about like the inside sides of a whale than you've ever have before. And yeah, it's good. It's a really good read. I enjoyed it. It kept me on my toes.
An unusual pick. That's a good one. My next pick was one of my favorite thrillers of the year, and this is Ruth Ware's One Perfect Couple, also published this year. This was published back in May. Kind of harkens back to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Yes. This was a high-tension and ingenious thriller following 5 couples trapped in a storm-swept island as a killer stalks among them. Lila is in a bit of a rut. Her postdoctoral research has fizzled out. She's pretty sure they won't extend her contract, and things with her boyfriend Nico, an aspiring actor, they aren't going great. When the opportunity arises for Nico to join the cast of a new reality TV show, The Perfect Couple, she decides to try out with him. A whirlwind audition process later, Lila finds herself whisked off to a tropical paradise with Nico, boating through the Indian Ocean towards Ever After Island, where the 2 of them will compete against 4 other couples, Bayer and Angel, Dan and Santana, Joel and Rami, and Connor and Xana, in order to win a cash prize. But not long after they arrive on the deserted island, things start to go wrong. After the first challenge leaves everyone rattled and a bit angry, an overnight storm takes matters from bad to worse. Cut off from the mainland by miles of ocean, deprived of their phones, and unable to contact the crew that brought them there, the group must band together for survival. As tensions run high and fresh water runs low, Lila finds that this game show is all too real, and the stakes become life or death. So I thought this was a good thriller this year.
I read that one, and it was so fun. I'm a big fan of Love Island, the reality show, and it was kind of like that going back.
Ever After Island.
That was great. Ruth Ware did it again. Okay, so this is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This is a fun, magical thing that's going to remind you of childhood. Make a wish. Lucy Hart knows better than anyone what it's like to grow up without parents who loved her. In a childhood marked by neglect and loneliness, Lucy found her solace in books, namely the Clock Island series by Jack Masterson. Now a 26-year-old teacher's aide, she is able to share her love of reading with bright young students, especially 7-year-old Christopher Lamb, who was left orphaned after a tragic death of his parents. Lucy would give anything to adopt Christopher. Even the idea of becoming a family seems like an impossible dream without the proper funds or stability. But be careful what you wish for. Just when Lucy is about to give up, Jack Masterson announces he's finally written a new book. Even better, he's holding a contest at his home in the real Clock Island, and Lucy is one of 4 lucky contestants chosen to compete to win the one and only copy. For Lucy, the chance of winning the most sought-after book in the world means everything to her and Christopher. But first she must contend with ruthless book collectors, wily opponents, and distractingly handsome and grumpy Hugo Reese, the illustrator of the Clock Island books. Meanwhile, Jack, the mastermind Masterson, is plotting the ultimate twist, ending that could change all their lives together. You might just get it. So this was published in 2023. Schaefer, and yeah, it's about books and children and fun.
Can't go wrong. My 4th pick was just a fun read that I liked this year, and this was How to Age Disgracefully, and it was published back in June. A senior citizen center and a daycare collide with hilarious results in the new ensemble comedy from New York Times bestselling author Claire Pooley. When Lydia takes a job running the Senior Citizen Social Club 3 afternoons a week, she assumes she'll be spending her time drinking tea and playing gentle games of cards. The members of the social club, however, are not at all what Lydia was expecting. From Art, a failed actor turned kleptomaniac, to Daphne, who has been hiding from her dark past for decades, to Ruby, a Banksy-style knitter who gets revenge around town in yarn, these seniors look deceptively benign, but when age makes you invisible, secrets are so much easier to hide. When the city council threatens to sell the doomed community center building, the members of the social club join forces with their tiny friends in the daycare next door, as well as the teenaged father of one of the toddlers and a geriatric dog, and they all try to save the building. Together, this group's unorthodox methods may actually work, as long as the police don't catch up with them first. So you have to read this fun book to see how this all turns out for the senior center and the daycare. It was a very fun read.
Okay, for my last pick, this is probably my favorite horror I read this year, although I did read One Perfect Couple, and that one was probably my second favorite.
Oh, I read that one.
The September House. I got to end with a house. This is my year of reading about houses.
Oh, God.
This one, there's only one house and only one people you hear about in them, but it's a doozy. This is by Carissa Orlando. It was published in 2023. A woman is determined to stay in her dream home after it becomes a haunted nightmare in this compulsively readable, twisty, and layered debut novels. When Margaret and her husband Hal bought the large Victorian house on Hawthorne Street for sale at a surprisingly reasonable price, they couldn't believe they finally had a home of their own. Then they discovered the hauntings. Every September, the walls drip blood. The ghosts of former inhabitants appear, and all of them are terrified of something that lurks in the basement. Most people would flee. Margaret is not most people. Margaret is staying. It's her house, but after 4 years, Hal can't take it anymore, and he leaves abruptly. Now he's not returning calls, and their daughter Catherine, who knows nothing about the hauntings, arrives, intent on looking for her missing father. To make things worse, September has just begun, and with every attempt Margaret and Catherine make at finding Hal, the hauntings grow more harrowing, because there are some secrets the house needs to keep. So, if you're not a good thriller, this would be good.
I liked that haunted house book.
Yeah.
I read that one
It
too.
was truly a haunted house. I was scared of the house.
I'm ending with one of my other favorites this year, and this was Go As a River by Shelley Reed. This was published last year in 2023. On a cool autumn day in 1948, Victoria Nash delivers late-season peaches from her family's farm set amid the wild beauty of Colorado. As she heads into her village, a disheveled stranger stops to ask her the way. How she chooses to answer this question will unknowingly alter the course of both their young lives. So begins the mesmerizing story of split-second choices and courageous acts that propel Victoria away from the only home she has ever known and towards a reckoning with loss, hope, and her own untapped strength. Gathering all the pieces of her small and extraordinary existence, spinning through the eddies of desire, heartbreak, and betrayal, she arrives at a single rocky decision that will change her life forever. This was a heart-wrenching coming-of-age story and a drama of enthralling power. It combined unforgettable characters and a breathtaking natural setting. It's a sweeping story of survival and becoming, of the deepest mysteries of love, truth, and fate. So I really liked this book. My other favorite river book this year was The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon, which I have talked about previously. So ending with two rivers.
True rivers and houses. Well, we hope that we helped you find something good to read since we're sharing our favorites that we read in 2024.
Yeah, let us know if you've read any of our favorites or what you thought about these books. We'd love to hear from you. You can find our videos on our Kimberly Public Library website, Facebook page, YouTube channel. And we say Happy New Year. We won't see you till the New Year. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.